My goal today is to create charts and reports in QuickScore. I've already logged in and have landed at my home page. Before I build from scratch, I'll review objects that have already been developed. On the primary navigation pane on the left, I'll select Charts and Reports. I'll then click on the Mobile World structure and choose Select. I see a listing of 6 reports that have already been developed. At the top, I have a red measures report, which will show me only the most concerning performance for a given period of time. In the top right, I see I'm looking at May of 2019, and see there's a list of measures in the red that I might need to drill down to get more detail on by clicking on the name. In addition to that, I can toggle back and forward to see different periods of time. If looking at only red measures depresses me a little too much, I might switch over to the Financial Overview report. And this gives me all performance activity for just financial measures. This provides month-by-month activity for the past year, and once again I can drive the last month in the report with the toggle in the top right. After reviewing a couple of the existing reports, I'll try building a few on my own. To start, I'll select the New Report option. I immediately get prompted with an option to pick a report type. On the left, there are 8 out-of-the-box scorecard reports that I could select from, including the Red Measures report that I quickly reviewed earlier. On the right is an out-of-the-box Initiatives report, along with 3 more advanced options that I'll review in more detail later. I'll select the Red Measures report, but before I select Next, I'll make note of the fact that at the bottom is a guide that there is a 3-step process to create a report. The first of which is choose a type. I'll now click Next and see that the next step is to select scorecard item. On the left, I'll select Financial, the organization Financial, and on the right, I could pick and choose which elements I want by expanding and collapsing certain things, but I'll actually select Financial Profit and Loss, the entire scorecard, and select Next. The last step is to select the calendar periods to display and choose the data to view. I'll start by changing to see 3 months of data on this report, so I'll switch from current period in the top left to 2 periods earlier. And I'll leave current period on the right. The last step is to pick which columns I want to see. And maybe I'll remove description and owners. So I'm done with that. I'll select Finish. Since I selected 3 months of activity, I am seeing all measures that contain a red value in any one of the 3 months that are displayed. Interest and bank charges, for instance, displays since I had a red value in April and May, even though it was green in March. Since I'm liking how this is looking, I'll select Save in the bottom right. And I'll change the name maybe to Red Measures Training. And click Save. Note that if I had selected just current period, some of the measures may disappear. To prove that out, I'll select Edit in the bottom left. Within the Row Filter section, I'll click on Color and change this from 2 periods earlier to current period. And then click Done. I'm going to do the same thing in the Date Range section by clicking Edit. Switch that to current period and select Finish. If I wanted to change the columns that appear on the report, like adding the scorecard item type, I could click Edit within that section, select the desired column, and then select Next. But at this point, I'm happy with the original column, so I'll select Cancel. My next step is to click Save, and then Done to see my changes. And we'll see that the report has gotten much smaller, now showing just those measures that are red for the month of May. Getting more confident in my report writing skills, I'll build a new report completely from scratch. To start, once again, I'll click New Report. This time from the Choose a Type dialog, instead of picking one of the out-of-the-box reports, I'll select Report Writer on the right, and then click Next. Under Choose Columns, I see that Name is the only column added by default. I'll add some additional columns like Scoring Type, and then on the right I'll select maybe Color, Score, Measure Value, and Goal. And then I'll click Next. For the time period, I'll leave the default of current period and select Next. Lastly, for row filters, I'll click on Add. From the filter on, I'll select specific scorecard items and then click Next. From the organization tree on the left, I'll select Financial. And on the right, I'll select the entire financial profit and loss scorecard structure and select Add. We'll see that that filter is now applied at the top. An important item to note is that the default for Cascade is to include all the descendants of this scorecard item, which is the level selected and on down. If I were to deselect that, I would get a high-level report summarizing the entire financial profit and loss performance to just one row. Since that wouldn't be too fruitful, I'll leave the default and select Done. Lastly, I'll select Get Report. I now see a detailed performance of the entire financial profit and loss scorecard for the month of May. In the top right, I can toggle back and forward to switch between months. I can get a better visual on color performance by hovering over maybe one of the numbers. I could drill down to a particular item by clicking on a given name. I can also sort the report by clicking on a column header like Score, and see that there are a number of measures that are suffering with a score of 0. If I click on the column heading again, I can see results by descending score, with my best performing measures at the top. If I click on the column a third time, I go back to the original unsorted view. I'll now click Save in the bottom right and accept the default name. If I don't like something on the report, I can select Edit in either the top right or bottom left. To change the column selection or date range, I would click Edit in each of those two sections. To change the filter, I can click on the existing one to edit it, or click on the X in the top right to delete it. If I want to add a new filter that allows me to also see all my customer support items in addition to financial, I'll click Add. Once again, I'll select specific scorecard items and then click Next. This time I'll click Customer Support on the left and select Add next to Customer Help Desk on the right. Now, if I didn't know anything about logical operators, I could merely click Done at this point, click Save, and then Done. And then I'll weep as I notice that I've broken my report. So I'll quickly go back to Edit to figure out what went wrong. Under closer examination, I see that the default relationship between filters is AND. Unfortunately, there is no case where a scorecard item contains both financial and customer in the same row. To fix that, I'll need to introduce an OR by clicking on the filter that I just added and enable the Add to Existing filter as an OR. I'll then click Done, confirm that the word OR now displays in the Row Filter section, and then click Save and Done. And now I'll verify that the customer support measures now display at the top. With that fixed, I'd like to build one more report that allows me to do a mass edit, such as quickly changing the updater for a number of measures. To illustrate this, once again I'll select New Report, Report Writer, and then click Next. Under Choose Columns, I'll add Updaters and select Next. Under Current Filters, I'll select Add, select Specific Scorecard Items, and select Next. On the left, this time I'll select the demo structure, and then on the right I'll select Financial and click Add. I'll then click on Done and Get Report to view the report. I see that Frank Zamba is the updater for all of the measures. If I'm feeling lazy and don't wish to be responsible for these measures any longer, on the bottom right, I'll select Mass Edit. An additional column appears on the left of the report. And to select all the items, I can click on the box in the top left. In the bottom right, I can then select Edit Selected Items. From the drop-down, I'll start typing Updaters, and then select it. Towards the bottom within the Updaters section, I'll select Tom Keating to kindly pass all this work over to him and select Save. To visually get the satisfaction of seeing that Tom has been added, I do need to select Done. If I want to be nice, I can go back to Mass Edit, select the top box, select Edit Selected Items, type Updaters and select it. This time I'm going to select Remove the following updaters. I'll select Tom and click Save. Once again, I'll click Done to confirm that Tom has been removed. An important thing to note is that Mass Edit is not intended to be saved. It is an ad hoc report that is leveraged to make some fundamental changes to the scorecard structure and then discarded. So in my case here, I'll click onto a different report and select Don't Save. Okay, with that we are done with building reports. Unfortunately, there is no rest for the weary. I still have a bunch of charts to build. I'll start by taking a quick look at a few charts that have already been developed. The first one is a line chart that shows a 12-month trend of total gross profit as a line. The next one shows it as a bar, and the third one shows product revenue, training revenue, and book revenue as a pie. These are by far the most popular chart types, but if I was to be more adventurous, I could click Edit and take note under the graph drop-down. There are a few different options out there: stacked 100% bar, area, stacked area, donut, and polar chart. Okay, once I'm ready to build a chart from scratch, I'll select the New Report option once again. This time from the Choose a Type dialog, I'll select Chart Writer and click Next. For the periodicity, I see that it defaults to a full year. I'll keep that and select Add Series. On the left, I'll select the demo organization. On the right, I'll select total gross profit. Before selecting Done, on the bottom left, I'll note that there is a series option that defaults to actual value. That can be changed to score, red flag, or goal at the measure level. If I were to switch to a non-measure, like the objective increase profit, note that the other options are not available. I'll switch back to total gross profit, leave actual value as the series, and select Done. I'll leave all the other defaults and select Finish. If I like it, I'll click Save, provide a name like Chart Training, and click Save. At this point, I may want to change the display to include red, yellow, green background thresholds. To do so, I'll select Edit in the bottom left. Toward the bottom, under Background Thresholds, I'll select Total Gross Profit. I'll then click Save and Done to view the changes. I can now see plainly that total gross profit is performing in the green or yellow in each of the 13 months on display, except May. Finding that pretty simple to do, I'm now going to tackle creating a combination bar and line chart with two measures. To do so, once again, I'll click on New Report. I'll select Chart Writer and then click Next. I'll accept the default period and click Add Series. On the left, again, I'll select the demo organization, and on the right, I'll select the total gross profit measure. And then select Done. To introduce another item, once again, I'll select Add Series. On the top left, I'll make note that I'm not locked into scorecard items. I could click on Initiative and introduce something like Migrate Servers to Cloud. However, I'll switch back to scorecard item, select Demo, and then select Total Gross Profit again. On the bottom left this time, I'll switch actual value to score and select Done. In the middle, I'll switch the graph type to a bar. I'll check axis on the right to avoid a scale conflict. and select Finish. I now see a combination graph that is charting actuals as a line and the normalized score as a bar. If I hover over one of the bars, I can see the values for both measure types. The same information is available in the table at the bottom. Having tackled both reports and charts, I'm now ready for the grand finale of leveraging SQL Console. To do so, I'll select a new report option once again. This time, from the Choose a Type dialog, I'll select SQL Console and click Next. I'll type something like select first name, last name from users, or first name like Frank. If I click Finish, I'll see if there's anyone else in the system with the same first name as me. Unfortunately, or fortunately as the case may be, there is not. The SQL Console can obviously be leveraged in a number of different ways, but for now, I will leave it at that.